how the people are doing. So today's video is going to be different. It's going to be very different from basically any other video that I've ever made thus far, because today we're going to take a look at the Gamesir Tarantula Pro. This is a gaming controller. Yeah, very unusual for my channel at least, because thus far at least, I've only dealt with smartphones. However, they reached out, they want me to review it, and well, obviously I said yes, because why not? I've never used a third-party controller like this before. I've always used something either from the PS4 or the PS5 controllers, because I do have a PS5, so it makes the most sense to have a PS5 controller as opposed to Xbox. I know, even for PC gaming, I've always used a PS5 controller. For two reasons. First and foremost is that the PS5 controller's layout, the symmetrical layout, it just works for me. It's perfect for me. I've tried the Xbox controllers before and they just, oh man, it makes me feel wrong when I'm using it. I don't know why, but it does, and it doesn't work for me. And so when Gamesir reached out and told that they're gonna send me the Tarantula 3 Pro, well, how could I refuse? It is symmetrical, works perfectly for me, it is massive, it is solid, it is built beautifully. That's the most important thing for me, because honestly, I'll be completely honest here, I didn't expect it to be built as well. I had assumed that it won't be built as well as, let's say, the PS5 controller that I've been using thus far. But it is just a pinch lighter as opposed to the PS5 controller, but that I see that as a good thing, because I've always felt like the PS5 controllers are maybe a little too heavy for me. Maybe that's just my opinion, but here's the deal. This controller, it has been such a pleasure to use. I didn't expect it to be this good. It's that simple. It is solid as a tank, and it has so many textures. Like when you're gripping it, you feel a different kind of texture. The entire gaming pad itself, that is completely different. It has a satin finish almost, with a camo on top. So it looks stunning, to say the least, and it feels incredible in the hand. Believe me, I would know, because I spent a lot of time gaming, if you didn't know already. And here's the deal. There is a lot more that Gamesir offers than what you would expect with a regular first-party controller like the one from PS5. You see, with a first-party controller, the thing is, you don't really get a lot of stuff. If you buy a first-party controller, all you get is the controller and maybe a charging cable. First and foremost, with the PS5 controller, you see, I was limited to just a wired connection, because the Bluetooth on my PC, for some reason, it just would not work well enough. It'll constantly glitch out, and in the middle of a game, it sucks balls the size of Manhattan if your controller stops working. So I just stuck with wired. I didn't have a choice. But now, with the Gamesir controller, you see, it doesn't just depend on Bluetooth or wired. It also comes with a wireless receiver. And wireless receivers, I'm telling you, they're a godsend. They just work so bloody well all the time. You never even have to think about it. It just works. And that's been my experience so far. There have been certain major issues that I faced initially when I was trying to set this whole thing up, and I'll get to it in a moment, but it has been resolved. That's a fantastic thing. But before that, another thing that you get is a charging station. It's not particularly high quality or particularly solid. It's made out of just clear plastic, nothing particularly special about it, but it is something you get. Now here's the deal. I do want to get to the major problems that I've had soon enough, but since we're rolling on with the good stuff, let me just finish it off. The build quality, the connection, the buttons, just the clickiness of the buttons themselves, they are stunning, to say the least. They feel incredible in the hand, and I've had no issues whatsoever, if anything at all. I feel like the button presses feel a lot better on this as opposed to the PS5 controller. That's just the way I feel. Yes, of course, the PS5 also has the whole adaptive triggers and the haptics thing going on. This one only has vibration, but if you're going to use this for PC gaming, all of that stuff doesn't really matter in the slightest. So the basics, they're being nailed over here. But there is one feature that I think is the coolest thing that I've seen thus far on any controller. The buttons, that is to say the AXYB buttons, they light up. And you can change it to be any color you want. So that's sexy. Alright, there's no two ways about that. This is by far my favorite feature. It is a completely aesthetic feature. For some reason, it just makes me feel like there's so much more style and customization available simply because the buttons light up and you can have them be whatever color you want. I don't know why it tickles my fancy, but it does. So, with that said, there are certain problems that I faced, especially initially when I was trying to set this thing up. First and foremost, I obviously tried to set it up with a wireless receiver. It's the way you should be going because it works almost flawlessly. I set it up, it started working. Obviously, I wanted to customize all the things. I wanted to customize the button layouts because we do have some extra customizable buttons right on the back, and that's fantastic. But I realized that the PC app that we had for this controller, it doesn't work well, mainly because it's in Chinese, and I don't know Chinese or Mandarin, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's a problem. I can't really use a PC app at all. But then there is a workaround for that. I could use a mobile app. And the mobile app works. I connected it to my S24 Ultra via Bluetooth, and I could do any and all customizations that I want, and it would basically carry over to my PC as well. Very seamless in that regard. Didn't actually expect it to be that good, but it is. So it is a hassle, a massive hassle when you think about it. Any kind of customizations, you got disconnect from the PC and then connect it to your S24 Ultra or any other smartphone that you have, and then you can make any changes that you might want. So it's annoying, but at the moment at least the PC app is unusable for anyone that doesn't really know the language. That's the issue. But then the real issue that I faced, which it gave me sleepless nights because I just could not figure out the problem. It was working initially, as I mentioned, with the wireless receiver and everything else, but then after I connected to the smartphone to make all the changes, there was a firmware update. So I think I was on 2.1 or 2.2, and then the update was for 2.4. Obviously updated because you usually want to update. More than likely it's gonna make things work better, faster, easier. Maybe not. In certain cases it sure as hell doesn't work that way, and this was one of those. So here's what happened. I updated it. It was working fine then. And then I made my changes. I obviously changed the entire color scheme to turquoise or cyan, whatever you want to call it. And I also changed the right side customizable button to emulate for B, because a lot of the games I play, they require you to press B to make your character run. But the problem is, when you're pressing B, you can't really use the right joystick to control the camera or anything like that. With this, however, that basically entirely solves the problem. It's fantastic to use, and I can tell you right now, if you use this, you cannot go back to anything else. But well, with all of that said though, after I'd made these changes, I then decided to once again connect to my PC, because obviously I'm going to use it for PC gaming. I noticed that for some reason, every single button was working on this controller. However, while connected with the wireless receiver, the joysticks or the analog sticks, they were just not being registered or recognized at all. Now bear with me though, you might be thinking, well, if there's such a major issue, why am I even talking about this? I should just immediately tell people not to buy. There's a solution. There's a very easy, obscenely easy solution to this. I'll get to it in a moment, just hold on. There were two problems. First and foremost, the wireless receiver, it wouldn't recognize the joysticks or the analog sticks once again. And even with the wired connection, the right trigger would just not be able to produce any press and hold functions, essentially. It made no sense. Funny thing is, it was a software update that somehow completely and utterly shat on this controller and everything that it tries to do. And it caused about 20 different problems. Well, technically 2, but the point stands. So after multiple attempts, I managed to connect it properly to my phone. And then I downgraded from 2.4 to 2.2 software version on this controller. That solved every little issue that I had. The receiver works perfectly now. No issues whatsoever, as you could probably tell with all the B-roll. The right trigger issue that I had, gone. The connectivity issue with my smartphone, also seamless and perfect. No problems, hiccups, nothing whatsoever. So yeah, that is basically my roundabout way of saying that if you are to buy this controller, which I would highly recommend, at this point it should be more than obvious that this controller has been a pleasure to use after that first horrible speed bump that we had. But yeah, if you do buy this controller, please, for the love of God, don't upgrade to 2.4. There's something majorly wrong with it. And just stay at 2.2. So with that said, I do hope you guys found this helpful. And look, this is a very different form of video that I've ever made, because I've never really used a controller and reviewed it before, but it was definitely fun. And it was a roller coaster of emotions, let's just say, because initially when I couldn't get it to work, oh my god, the frustration I felt in myself more than anything else, because I just couldn't figure the problem out. However, I'm giving you the fix, so you don't have to worry about this. And yes, I do recommend this with an open heart. Not because they send the controller to me, I have no such obligations. So, well, I'll see you guys sooner with many more videos to come. Cheers.